Not too long ago, Twitter was purchased by everyone's favorite white supremacist billionaire Elon Musk. One of Elon's stated goals on the purchase of Twitter was to sort of get rid of its left slant and bring more free speech to the platform. What did he mean by this? Well, if we ask your common conservative individual, they would most likely tell you that it was conservative thought being suppressed or restricted. What does that mean? Does it mean that you couldn't say that the rich should be taxed less on Twitter, or that maybe environmentalism should not be prioritized over corporate profit? Yeah, no, everyone knows that wasn't the case. Mostly it was just the ability to say racial slurs, because that is what would be frequently banned. Less frequently banned were instances of homophobia, transphobia, racism, anti-Semitism, and many other forms of hate speech. Of course, that doesn't really get mentioned. It gets more mentioned as just being a free thinker and asking questions about others' right to exist and whether or not we should exterminate certain groups of people. Seems pretty reasonable of a right-wing thought to me. We should keep that going. But what other forms of speech were restricted? Well, conservatives really were down about Donald Trump being banned after the results of the I don't know if results is the right word, after the January 6th insurrection. And very funny after that, when people when conservatives were mocking liberals or leftists for saying that Trump could just make his own Twitter if he didn't like their terms of service. Well, not too long after, Twitter was banned in Uganda. And how did conservatives react? By telling Twitter, or I guess just shouting to the world, that Twitter should just make its own Uganda. Not one single conservative voice in all of the platform cared one bit about any Ugandan citizen's right to Twitter and thus free speech. You see where I'm going with this? Conservatives tend to be the type to want rules for everyone else but themselves. Want another example of this? Let's look to Florida. Are you aware of the Don't Say Gay bill, in which government employees cannot have any mention of, let's go with being anything other than cis or heterosexual? And if you're not aware, cisgender is identifying as the gender you're born as. Well, imagine a situation where a gay man is gay, has a husband. Pretty crazy, I know. Drives conservatives wild, and I'm not talking about the shows of breasts on a VHS that get shut down and banned illegally because they posted videos of women without their consent. I'm talking about them getting straight up genocidal at this thought, but nonetheless, imagine a gay man with a husband is a teacher in an elementary school. That gay man cannot make any mention to his husband. That gay man's husband cannot come in and say, I am this man, your teacher's husband. That gay man cannot say that he's gay in any form. He cannot, if a child comes up to this man and saying that the child is having homosexual thoughts, and wants, I don't know, some form of approval, maybe to get some form of relief from relentless bullying, that teacher cannot make any reference to the idea of gayness whatsoever. Is that not a violation of free speech? Is that not the government specifically alienating that inalienable right from that gay American citizen? Of course, conservatives would argue that it's in the interest of protecting the children. I think it's actually in the interest of protecting cis heteronormativity, because what of the gay child? And that is a thing, dumbass conservatives. A gay child exists. Trans children exist. Guess what? Every trans adult, every gay adult was a trans or gay, respectively, adult. In a lot of cases, it's both. But they don't like to think about that, A, because they're not aware of basic child psychology, where very fun fact I learned in Psychology 101, maybe you can remember yourself when you're a child, you have masturbatory practices, but let's not get into the weird things about child touching right now. Let's stick to the freedom of speech thing. Yes, that teachers' rights are being alienated, taken away, they're whatever, I don't know, I'm not American, I don't know what amendment that is, being taken away by the state government. It is clearly unconstitutional. and it is not protecting children that are gay or trans because it is enforcing a cis heteronormative society in which we are suppressed, bullied, and culturally genocided, as they now push for actual violent genocide, as if you would like to look at conservative pundits in the wake of the Club Q shooting, which happened on November 19th, 2022. I have to remember that someone might listen to these videos later, these podcast sections later. It is not in the interest of protecting children, I say again, to drive it home. It is in the interest of harming gay and trans children, of harming gay, trans adults. And let's not look to the thoughts on critical race theory, in which they would also like to suppress the speech of all those who would stand up for black people. I'm getting a bit off track. In the aftermath of the Colorado Springs Club Q shooting, many conservative pundits celebrated the violence. In fact, pundits such as Tim Pool, Matt Walsh, Libs of TikTok, all called for more, saying that any case of a person in drag existing around a child is grooming them to, become gay somehow. Gonna catch the drag person's gonna cough on them, they're gonna get the gay. It's fucking stupid. But anyway, they don't apply this sort of sexuality as a disease to the idea of taking a child to Hooters. They don't apply the idea of in-your-face titties as sexual at all, but a person in a wig with some makeup on, that's one form of speech and expression that we cannot allow. It is just a case of free speech for me, not for thee. Free speech free speech absolutism is not absolute. Never has been. There have always been laws against inciting violence, though they're not always enforced, as evidenced by Twitter itself, and the continued existence of Libs of TikTok, Ben Shapiro, The Daily Wire, and even among other conservatives. Look at the recent canceling, is that the right word? Self-canceling of formerly known as Kanye West rapper Ye, or maybe that's former rapper too, when he outed himself as a full-on I love Nazi type individual. Even those on the right who agree with 190%, in Ben Shapiro's case, 90% to 100 agreement with Nazis, but you cannot say that you're a Nazi. There are freedom of speech consequences there that even rightoids will admit to. So what the hell is this freedom of speech absolutism they're fighting for? It's just white supremacy, man. They're just trying to get the Nazi shit going and telling you that they have a freedom to. I don't know about you, but I will not I don't agree with what Nazis are saying and I will not die for their right to say it. In fact, I think my actual grandfather fought for them to not have the right to be Nazis. So what about you? Let me know in the comments if you're for freedom of speech absolutism and you would love to post your address, tell people to kill you, what time you're home, that maybe you should say that I am allowed to tell them to target your parents as well, all your loved ones. It's just words. How can it be violence? Yeah, that's my free speech rant. Hey, did you know that Canada doesn't have freedom of speech? It has freedom of expression. It's different. And everyone who's pushing for freedom of speech in Canada is actually just pushing for freedom of bigotry, pretty much, because that's the only thing that isn't protected by freedom of expression and is actively suppressed by our bills of rights. Yeah, freedom of speech kind of is a white supremacist dog whistle in Canada, FYI. At any rate, this has been the Live Hard Corner. I thank you for listening. If you liked it, feel free to subscribe if you're not already, and check out my podcast, which it exists still. It's not gone. New episode soon. And I'm sure the next time I get pissed and feel like ranting about something will be right around the corner.